From the first few days of preseason testing, it was clear that pretty much all F1 teams had a new, unique problem. Anybody who's watched an onboard lap of most of the cars this season will see the drivers bouncing up and down in the cockpit. This is called porpoising and is related to the aerodynamic regulation changes introduced this season. But what exactly is porpoising, and how have Ferrari and Red Bull solved it? Before we look at the solution, it's important to understand the problem. With new technical regulations introduced for the 2022 season, there was a huge aerodynamic overhaul with the regulations changing pretty much completely. The cars have been switched from an over-body downforce approach to a ground effect philosophy. Essentially, this means that the majority of the downforce generated by the car is generated by airflow under the car, sucking it down to the ground. In the past, the majority of the car's downforce was generated by the airflow over the bodywork. These changes have mainly been caused by changes to the floor, but they have some side effects. The main side effect is that at higher speeds, the air flowing underneath the car will stall. This means there's not enough space between the car and the ground for the air to flow through. This causes the floor to stop generating downforce and the car will spring back up to its normal height. Of course, as the car springs back up to its normal height, there'll be enough space for the air to travel under the car, so the car lowers due to increased downforce. This creates a cyclical effect, which makes the car bounce up and down. This effect is called porpoising, and it has been noticed on almost every F1 car on the grid this season. This is not something we've seen in F1 before, but as the cars get closer and closer to the ground, it's hardly surprising we see this effect. It is incredibly uncomfortable for drivers. Aston Martin F1 driver Lance Stroll said that porpoising rattles your brain quite a bit. Certainly not the effect you want going over 200 miles per hour. It may just sound slightly uncomfortable, but porpoising can be a serious danger to F1 drivers. That discomfort may be fine over one lap, but some Formula 1 races can be up to 2 hours. Circuits like Bahrain, Austria and Baku all have lots of straights, and being at high speed for so long could cause a lot of pain to drivers. So there had to be a response from the teams to get this problem under control. It can't be a surprise to hear that the fastest team in F1 so far this season have also been the best at dealing with porpoising. But it is still a serious problem for Ferrari. Throughout preseason testing, there was a view of the F175 bouncing up and down on the straights just as much as any other car. When you're trying to get as much downforce out of the car as possible, the porpoising will always be there. Ferrari noticed the problem very early on in testing and made some changes in just the second day of preseason testing in Bahrain. With Charles Leclerc's car bouncing up and down on the straights at Barcelona, an upgrade was needed. So what Ferrari decided to do was look at the floor for changes. The revised floor for the second day of Bahrain testing featured a long knife-shaped profile on the side. The floor rises slightly towards the inside, and this creates a long groove between the raised edge and the bodywork. This knife-shaped profile is reinforced with some metal clips that are often seen on the car's front wings. The clips are crucial as they counteract deformation at high speeds. It is high speeds where this porpoising is at its worst, and so Ferrari need more stability on the straights. The whole point of this change is to reduce the pressure difference under the car, which normally is what causes porpoising. This effect has not necessarily fixed the problem. Championship leader Leclerc talked about porpoising at the Australian Grand Prix. The Monegasque said, "We need to tackle it because it can affect consistency. But it's not like I could have gone faster if it wasn't bouncing. The only time it was a factor was on the restarts I wasn't confident. I could brake extremely hard for turn 1 on the restart because of the bouncing, but otherwise it was okay." So while it's still an issue for Ferrari, it's certainly not holding the team back. Despite dominating the championship right now, they're still planning to bring floor upgrades to next race weekend in Imola. Team boss Mattia Binotto has said that this piece is not significant, but should help with porpoising. It seems as though Ferrari are only worried about porpoising affecting their consistency, and it's clearly not having any effect on the team's pace. Despite a terrible start to the season, Red Bull may have actually been the team to handle the effects of porpoising the best. They have faced awful reliability issues so far this season, but one of the things that the team has dealt with well is porpoising. This does not mean Red Bull did not have to deal with porpoising. As many other teams did, they noticed the issue in preseason testing. But Red Bull has always been one of the teams best at adapting to issues quickly, and that's exactly what they did. On the final day of preseason testing in Bahrain, there was huge changes made to the RB18 side pods and floor. These huge changes were aimed to reduce porpoising. The changes were mainly based on 2 notches perpendicular to the side edge of the floor. There is an S-shaped part that is used on the side of the floor which should make the side skirts more effective. The whole point of the side skirts helped to reduce the pressure difference of the car by creating a vortex of air close to the floor at the rear of the car. This should reduce the porpoising effect. It seems as though this has worked. Red Bull really have not seen anywhere near as much porpoising as some of the other teams at the top of the grid. This has allowed their drivers to be a lot steadier at high speeds. So while Red Bull are really struggling with their power unit, the team seems to have nailed the downforce of the car. This is certainly not the case for Red Bull's 2021 title rivals Mercedes. Formula 1 released a very interesting graph that plotted the amplitude of porpoising for the cars during the Australian Grand Prix last time out. It shows Ferrari having the highest G-force effect, but Mercedes' graph is the most worrying. The reigning Constructors' champions have struggled throughout the F1 season with porpoising. If you watch almost any Lewis Hamilton qualifying lap this season, you'll see the 7-time world champion bouncing up and down in the cockpit. Hamilton has spoken about the discomfort of the car, saying, "I'd say this era of car is the worst for porpoising that I've ever experienced," going on to say that the car is like a rattlesnake for the way that it's unpredictable and snappy. Hamilton says that we need to find the right balance in ride height to give us performance while controlling the bouncing tomorrow. George and I tried slightly different things on our cars today, so hopefully that's good learning for the team to take into the race. His teammate George Russell was a little bit more blunt about the situation. After the Australian Grand Prix, Russell said, "I've not been overly comfortable in the car this weekend. The reason why Mercedes have struggled so much with the comfort of the car is that porpoising. While Ferrari have also experienced porpoising, Mercedes are struggling with porpoising at much lower speeds. Essentially, Ferrari only really dealt with porpoising at the end of the straights in Australia, while Mercedes drivers had to deal with porpoising around some of the fast corners in Melbourne. It does not only have a comfort problem, but also prevents Mercedes from operating at peak performance." This is exactly what Mercedes trackside engineer Andrew Chauvelin said, saying, "That's probably priority number 1, referring to dealing with porpoising." Chauvelin said, "Because that's ultimately preventing us from running the car where we'd like to run it for optimum performance." The simulations in preseason showed the Mercedes could be faster than it had been so far this season, but the car is having to sacrifice downforce to make the cars more comfortable to their drivers. Do you think that Mercedes can fix their porpoising issues and catch up to the pace of the top 2 cars? Put your thoughts down in the comments. And while you're down there, why not like the video and subscribe? If you did like this video, why not check out this video, which is just as interesting and exciting.